transportation department or building so that this project can take place. It's going to be an extensive process, but it's going to be worth it. They are going to start the process of this, of course, after school is out and traffic has slowed, because they literally will be taking the roof off of it and it will be open. There's going to be thicker panels to be installed, and the work should be able to, get completed. They're going to try to start this project in early June. After reviewing this, I move it for passage so the transportation building can get a new hairdo.
Thank you, Mrs. Peterson. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. D'Angelo Steele. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ms. Peterson.
Yes.
Ms. D'Angelo Steele.
Yes.
Ms. Liskini.
Yes.
Ms. Martindale.
Yes.
Mr. Bosa.
Yes. Next is items for action under student, school, and community with Mrs. Liskini.
Thank you. This evening, under Student, School, and Community, we have 10 action items. So buckle in, here we go. Number 1, Pleasant View Middle School students to travel to Washington, D.C. This trip, the Pleasant View Middle School 8th grade students have the opportunity to travel to Washington, D.C. for an educational field trip. The trip is planned for May 21st through the 24th, 2025, and students will miss 3 days of school. There will be approximately 91 students, and trip expenses will be paid by students and parents. Number 2 is Central Crossing High School Winter Guard. The Central Crossing High School Winter Guard students have the opportunity to travel and compete at the WGI World Championship prelims and finals at Northern Kentucky University in Highland Heights, Kentucky, and at Wright State University in Dayton, Ohio. The trips will occur April 3rd through the 4th, 2025, and students will miss 2 days of school. Approximately 13 students will attend, and the trip expenses will be paid by boosters. Number 3, Central Crossing High School Indoor Percussion. The Central Crossing High School Indoor Percussion students have the opportunity to travel and compete at the WGI World Championship at Northern Kentucky University in Highland Heights, Kentucky, and at Montgomery County Fairgrounds in Dayton, Ohio. The trip will occur April 9th through the 11th, 2025, and students will miss 2 days of school. Approximately 17 students will be attending, and the trip expenses will be paid by boosters. Number 4, Central Crossing High School Marching Band. The Central Crossing High School Marching Band has the opportunity to perform at Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida. The trip is planned for January 16th through the 20th, 2026, and students will miss a half day of school. Approximately 115 students will attend, and trip expenses will be paid by students and parents. Number 5, Franklin Heights High School NJROTC. The Franklin Heights High School NJROTC cadets have the opportunity to tour military sites in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. The trip is planned for May 8th through the 10th, 2025, and students will miss 2 days of classes. Transportation will be, or approximately 8 students will attend, and trip expenses will be paid by families. Number 6, Grove City High School NJROTC. The Grove City High School NJROTC has had the opportunity to participate in a regional sea perch competition at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. The trip was held on March 15th, 2025, and students missed 0 days of school. Trip expenses were paid by the NJROTC funds. This happened in between board meetings, so that's why that one is a little bit delayed. Number 7, Grove City High School Travel Club. The students in the Grove City High School Travel Club have the opportunity to travel to Italy. The trip is planned for June 10th through the 19th, 2027, so you have time to reserve your spot. Get your passport ready. Approximately 20 students will be attending or traveling, and the trip expenses will be paid by students and parents. Number 8 is the Grove City High School Choirs. Grove City High School choirs have the opportunity to travel abroad and perform in famous venues throughout Austria and Hungary. The trip is planned for March 26th through April 4th, 2026. Approximately 60 students will be traveling, and trip expenses will be paid by the students' parents' fundraising and choir boosters. Number 9, Grove City High School Best Buddies. The Grove City High School Best Buddies have the opportunity to travel to a leadership conference at the University of Indiana. The trip is planned for July 18th through the 21st of 2025. Approximately 5 students will be attending, and trip expenses will be paid by students and parents. And number 10, Westland High School Performing Arts. The Westland High School Performing Arts wish to travel to Orlando, where they will participate in clinics and workshops with current Disney performers. How amazing does that sound? The trip is planned for February 11th through the 16th of 2026, and students will miss 2.5 days of school. Approximately 130 students will be traveling, and trip expenses will be paid by students, parents, and through fundraising activities. After reviewing all of these items, I move them for approval.
Thank you, Mrs. Liskini. Can I get a second?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I'm not sure who I'm directing this one to, whether it's, I'm not sure it is, but, just out of curiosity, why do we need to approve things so far in advance? And if something occurs, like, is there, leeway for, approving something 2 years in advance, 1 year in advance, does that have something to do with, like, budgeting or something, or by approving it, then they can, like,
They
raise
can
funds,
start
or?
raising funds.
And I think, like Julie was saying, to get their passports and everything
Mhm.
in
To
line.
start the process.
Because you definitely have to get that prepared beforehand. And Denise just did raise the question about everything going on in our world. I'm sure if the, Department of, Homeland Security or something, we could
Is that still a
pull
thing?
these kids back in as far as if something's going on in that part of the world. I wouldn't let our kids go there. And like I told Randy, I said, this I'd leave to most parents really. If their parents are comfortable with these kids going to Italy and Austria, I think it's great these kids get out in the world and experience these things. So I usually just leave it up to the parents, and if they're comfortable with it, who am I to say no?
I'll second it.
Thank you so much, Mrs. D'Angelo Steele. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ms. Liskini,
Yes.
Ms. D'Angelo Steele,
Yes.
Ms. Martindale,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Bosso.
Yes.
Order.
Thank you. The next, we're gonna go on to personnel. I'm gonna go ahead, Kelly, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah.
Approve them first.
Alright. Well, I'm gonna get my plug in then right now, because I
All
can
right,
tell
I
I'm
like
gonna
it.
be rushed. Alright, so guys, we are continually, actively hiring, and we have so many great positions open. I was kind of browsing through what we've got open right now, and I'm telling you, we've got administrative positions, coaching, transportation, support staff, health services, all kinds of different substitute positions. We have custodial positions, and we have teaching positions open at every level, elementary, middle, and high school. So apply with us. Come be a part of our family. We really, really want you. Okay, so here we go with the official stuff. All right, we have 7 personnel items involving 241 persons. This includes 14 certificated resignations, 2 administrative employments, 7 certificated changes in employment, 120 certificated employments, 84 of which are supplemental, 20 classified resignations, 15 classified changes in employment, and 63 classified employments. And having reviewed all of these, I'm super excited about the people joining us. I move them for passage.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Martindale. Can I get a second?
Second, Peterson.
Thank you, Mrs. Peterson. Roll call.
Ms. Martindale,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Ms. D'Angelo Steele,
Yes.
Ms. Liskini,
Yes.
Mr. Bosso.
Yes.
All right, and now I'd like to invite Mr. Matt Coleman up. I know you did, Trent.
Thank you, Kelly. President Bosso, Vice President D'Angelo Steele, Mr. Banks, Mr. Garside, the rest of the board.
It gives me great pleasure to stand before you tonight to introduce 3 administrators of the district. I already introduced Justin Hagenstein to you at the last board meeting. He wasn't here because he's driving a bus in his previous district. But we're happy to have him with us here tonight. And just to recap, he comes to us from 3 Rivers local schools where he served as the co-transportation director since 2020. Beyond overseeing the day-to-day operations of the district's school transportation personnel and routes, his commitment to serving the greater needs of statewide student ridership extends to his role as an executive board member of the Ohio Association for Pupil Transportation, also set him apart in our interview process. Justin started with us on March 3rd. He's been up here, he's been living in an apartment, he's looking for a house for him and his family. And he's been working hard to learn our processes, look, see what impact he can make on our transportation department. I've asked him to come tonight to say a few words. So, Justin, welcome.
All right, good evening. First off and foremost, thank you for the appointment. Also having me here on this St. Patrick's Day. But I definitely want to say thank you for everything. I have enjoyed my past 2 weeks here, learning more about the district, more of the community, and I actually am starting to look at houses up here in the community. So I definitely look forward to immersing my family into the southwestern community as well. So thank you.
I'm also excited to introduce Ashley Jackson, our new special education coordinator. Ms. Jackson joins us from Reynoldsburg City Schools, where she currently serves as a special education coordinator. She has also worked with Pickerington Local School District and Columbus City Schools. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Education from The Ohio State University, a Master of Education Intervention Specialist from Wright State University, and Master of Education in Educational Leadership from Ashland University. With her extensive experience in coordinating special education programming, ensuring IEP compliance, providing staff training, and overseeing district-wide special education initiatives, she brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise. Her background in policy development, student support services, and stakeholder collaboration makes her a valuable asset for us. I'm confident you're going to like her. I like her. Happy to have her here. And so, Ashley, please come on up. Say a few words.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here. That was a really great write-up. I was like, wow, didn't think I sounded great. So thank you so much. Thank you all for having me. I'm excited to join the team. I'm excited to grow with this district. I'm passionate about special education. I was passionate about the special education population, staff, and students. And I just look forward to joining you all. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And this one gets me really excited is Ms. Rachel Kelly, who is Customer Experience and Data Administrator. Ms. Kelly resides here in Grove City. She graduated from Southwestern City Schools. Actually, she's a Franklin Heights grad, and I won't say what year. And she's a proud parent of 2 Central Crossing High School graduates. She started her career in education as a building secretary for Columbus City Schools, and then transitioned into a student data specialist for Infinite Campus at Columbus City Schools, where she has been responsible for the training and support of staff, along with coordinating and managing special projects for the district. She's got over 20 years of experience. She's got a great personality. She's a perfect fit for this role, and we're glad to have her come home to Southwestern City Schools. Rachel Kelly.
Thank you for having me here this evening. Again, I'm coming home. I'm born here, started here in kindergarten, worked my way through. I did spend the last 20 years in Columbus, growing my support, and I'm here to help you build this position, the customer experience and technology. I feel it's really important to build those relationships, not only within the district, but with the families and the community, making sure that literacy and technology is not a hindrance to using and communicating with us. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for coming in and seeing us. Next, we're going to go to public participation for non-agenda items. The first person we have is Catherine Stewart on attendance policies and teachers' discretion. No, Catherine? All righty, we'll move on. Next will be Mark Seegers, who is our representative here for the state. Mark? And he's going to talk about state funding also.
Thank you, everybody. It's a pleasure and privilege to be here. Thank you, President Bozo, Vice President D'Angelo Steele, all the board members, and Mr. Garside and Mr. Banks. My name is Mark Siggers, and I'm a Grove City resident and alumnus of Grove City High School, and currently a state representative for our district, which largely encompasses most of the Southwestern City School and the Columbus West Side and German Village. I want to thank you again for the opportunity to speak, because nothing will affect Ohioans more at the State House than the 2-year operational budget that we'll be finalizing on June 30th, 2025. And I'm here tonight because I want to really reinforce what Mr. Garside said earlier, that this proposed budget as it stands leaves Southwestern City Schools with an $11 million deficit. And if we don't act now, and I'll talk more about acting in a minute, but this gap will definitely impact the quality of our education. It'll strain our communities and administration. It'll have long-lasting consequences for our district and our future. Our schools, our Southwestern City Schools, are run lean and mean, and we do not have the elasticity in our budget to absorb this cut, to just kind of suck up $11 million, if you will, and make it happen. So for decades, the state has relied too heavily on local property taxes, leading to an underfunded, inequitable system. And back to 1997, when the Ohio Supreme Court ruled this over-reliance on property taxes is unconstitutional. I do want to interject some lollipops and sunshine, though, because I really, Mr. Garside is so humble, but that heroic effort in 2017, when they put together the Fair School Funding Plan, was a 4-year Herculean effort all across Ohio. Treasurers, superintendents, a couple legislators, a bipartisan effort. And that final product created what we have today, and we were supposed to give it a 6-year phase-in. So here we are, we're going into years 5 and 6, and we've underfunded it. We deliberately, I shouldn't say deliberately, we somehow underfunded and missed the fact that we're using old numbers. So this important part of this constitutional formula for funding our schools that we shortchanged is now, it has about 60% of school districts in Ohio facing a deficit. When the legislature adopted the plan, they agreed to phase this in. We're approaching years 5 and 6, and so we basically have this gap. And at the same time we have this gap, in the same budget, we have allocated nearly $500 million additional in this budget for private and charter schools for an expanded voucher program. So we did that. So if we can allocate that increase to state funding to non-public schools, we surely can expand our state tax dollars to address the shortfall for our public schools. And if there was ever a time to fortify public education, to fortify our democracy, now is the time. So it's an investment in our future. We know that over 90% of Ohio children go to public schools. And if we can't influence the state to increase our state budgeted amount for inflation, we're going to see the painful budget cuts. It'll harm our district services. It'll force us to cut vital programs and sports. We'll likely need to consider placing a school tax levy on the ballot. And we know all too well that no one inside or outside this room has an appetite for any school levies, let alone library levies, let alone coded tax levies. So that's why I'm here tonight. I think it's time to really sound the alarm. And I don't mean just on this board, and I don't mean just on the teachers. I mean the whole community. We must be as vocal as possible, district leadership, elected city officials, our mayor, our council, our city chamber of commerce, teachers, residents alike. We cannot let the state shift public school financial burden on the backs of the taxpayers. You heard Mr. Garside talk about earlier, we've gone from like a 60 to 40% funding world. Suddenly, how are we supposed to make that up? There's only one place to make it up, and that's on the backs of people and property taxes. So we have to do something here. And the solution is this: we have to urge our state legislators to adjust the budget, fully fund the full Fair School Funding Plan, account for inflation, and if we did that for all the 60% of the schools that are currently in the deficit, it would cost just 1% of the state budget to fix this, to get us to where we need to be. I ask for your support in spreading the word, contacting our legislators. We need them to fulfill their constitutional duty to support our school children and communities. Together, we can ensure a bright future for Ohio with a skilled workforce ready for tomorrow's challenges. You have me already. We need to reach out to other legislators over our areas. Finally, many of our residents are unaware of what's at stake, and we must immediately inform them about these cuts and the impact that it can be on our class sizes, sports, transportation, and more. This isn't just about funding, it's about ensuring every child in Ohio has the opportunity to succeed. So I urge you to fight for our Southwestern City School and all of Ohio's children. The state must honor its commitment to the final 2 years of the 6-year plan, and either we get the money now or we're gonna all be paying for it later. So as a stakeholder, a high school graduate from this very school district, I will give you my full support in everything I have. Let's go.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Moving on now, we're gonna go to items for discussion.
Excuse me, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. We were just talking. I did call today at 11:38 and I was put into a voicemail. I have my call log. It shows I was on my phone for 2 minutes. I know that you're not obligated to let me speak, but I did try to do what I was supposed to do, and I have a very brief thing to say. And it echoes Mr. Representative Segrist, so if you would be so inclined, I would very much appreciate it.
You know what, I guess I could put it to a vote. Good? Good?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you very much.
You're
I do.
so welcome.
I very much appreciate that. I even shortened it while I was waiting, so.
Thank you very much, again, for letting me speak. I really very much appreciate it. I am Chandra Frederick. I am the parent of 3 Southwestern City School students. I spoke on at the February 10th board meeting, and I wanted to expand on that a little bit today. As I stated in an email to you last week, I'm extremely concerned about the funding for Southwestern City Schools based on what the proposed budget is by Governor DeWine. I'd like to thank Representative Segrist for coming tonight and speaking on that, and for Mr. Garside's work on calculating the numbers, as well as all of your work just advocating for funding for our school district in general and all the schools in Ohio in general. I think probably everyone in this room very much appreciates that. Sorry, I want to skip ahead on my thing. So a loss of $11 million would be catastrophic. I think we all know that we cannot endure that as a district, and it wouldn't just be now, it would be many years to come. We will fall behind, we will lose programs, and unfortunately, I think that based on some things I've seen, special education will be the most impacted by that loss of revenue or by that loss of funding. On top of that $11 million shortfall that Rep. Segrist mentioned, the EdChoice voucher program continues to be fully funded by taxpayers with no income requirements, oversight, no cap on total amount that can be spent. That means that funding will continue to be sent to private schools at an exorbitant rate, while our students here in Southwestern City Schools will receive even less than we currently receive, which is less than the full amount we should receive. The state of Ohio needs to do better for all of our districts, but we're talking about ours. We're fighting for ours. As a school board, the people elected by our community to be good stewards of our taxpayer dollars and to represent our students, you have a great responsibility to speak up for those students in our schools, and we need you to. We rely on you. You are our advocates in that. I'm asking you to do 2 things that can help alleviate this funding loss for our students. Number 1, show your support for the fair funding formula. I attached a resolution to the email that I sent you. I also printed it out and I have it for everyone here this evening. But I think that a formal resolution, I know Hilliard did it earlier this week too. I didn't know that when I sent you the email that was their plan, but I think it shows strong support to our representatives, and then can also probably help get a meeting with them to speak to Mr. Stewart, Ms. Reynolds, people like that can make an amendment to the budget. I also am asking that we rejoin the Vouchers for Ohio lawsuit, because now more than ever, we can't afford to keep funding private schools at the expense of our public school students. I know that there are a lot of arguments in favor of vouchers. I believe in vouchers for income dependent or for special needs students, but to have this expanded voucher program that we have that's just bleeding money, it's literally hemorrhaging the money that should be coming to the public school districts. And we are not getting a lot of money, and those students that are able to take advantage of that weren't necessarily even students that we had already. So it's not like that funding is being moved, but we're also not having to educate those students. Those students were already gone, and now money that we rely on is also gone, and that's just going to continue to grow. So I would very much, I know that this board removed themselves from the coalition, and I believe 2023, I would very much urge you to reconsider joining that lawsuit. I hope that we can all work together to fight on behalf of Southwestern City Schools. Our kids deserve a united coalition that puts politics aside to do what is right for our kids and our community. School board members, parents, community, teachers, legislators, we all have to work together. And I will do anything that you need me to do, and I'm sure many other members of the community feel the same way. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak tonight.
Just to say, I mean, I don't think there's one member of this board isn't worried about what's going on at the State House, and we're backing, trying to get that finance put back in. I know I talked to Mark yesterday about it, and this is something that we can all come together on and agree we need to implement this fair funding. So I just to put that out there, I don't know if anybody else has anything to say. All right. Moving on now, we're gonna go into executive session now. It's recommended the Board of Education adjourn to executive session according to policy 0166 to prepare for conduct and review of negotiations and bargaining sessions with the public employees and to consider the employment, dismissal, discipline. Camille, thank you. Why didn't you hit me? Sorry. Thank you, Randy. Let's just scrap that right now. We're going to go to items for discussion because we are going to discuss our membership with the OSBA. Would anybody like to start this discussion?
Want me to start it, or Julie, you want to start it?
I guess I'll start.
Give your background.
I think I started this whole
I want you to give your background.
Conversation.
Yes, I don't want to speak
Yes.
for you.
Just a little bit of a background on this and the board as we're discussing this. I had asked after the OSBA conference a couple months ago, when we got back, I had asked the communications department to put together a survey for the board and administration, just to know who's involved with OSBA, who's utilizing their services, just a cost versus benefit analysis. I think that's something that, when we're talking about being fiscally responsible, should we be involved? What organizations should we be involved in? How many? All of those kinds of things. So simply, that's where that came from. I asked for a survey. A survey was implemented, and we just haven't had time to discuss what that meant or where we want to go from here. And I guess we can just open it up for discussion at this point.
Anybody else right now?
Well, I'll piggyback off that too, with just that, I spoke with Mr. Garside a little bit about, not only OSBA, but other organizations as well that the district is a part of, so, I just don't want, the thought to be we're, picking out organizations and just saying, oh, this or this or that. Like, there's legit a lot of organizations that district is a part of, and, I think you know, to be fiscally responsible and to be aware of what we're doing. It's always good to see what we're doing and to make sure we're utilizing everything. So, I appreciate the time that Ms. Lisbon took to talk with OSBA and all the research we've done, and I'm excited to have a conversation.
I just want to say, or my input around the OSBA, is one, I did not want to come in being, I call it the new board member on the block, 1 year in, to say that I have all of the knowledge or expertise to say they're not worth us keeping. Because I didn't feel like that would be fair. Because I haven't experienced them long enough. So I don't ever want to cut ties with someone just because I'm 1 year in and I haven't had a full opportunity to utilize them and know all of the background and the information about them, what they have to offer, and the things of that nature. So I will give that perspective, speaking for myself, is I never want to just cut someone off, or an entity or relationship we've had with an organization for so many years, and make that type of decision. I haven't been here long enough to quite say that. So that's just me being fair. 2, audience, stay quiet when I say this, because I want the discussion to happen and I don't want it to get interrupted. And I don't want to say this in any way to offend my peer board members, but if we are being fiscally responsible and really trying to take that in consideration, I'm going to continue to point it out. We did not take that in consideration when we were making the selection for who the legal representation for the board was going to be. So I want to make sure it's known going forward, if this is a process we're going to do, we make sure we apply that to all things, because we did not do that when it came to selecting the legal representation that was going to be for us board members. We didn't do a research. We didn't do a vetting process. We didn't do what we're taking the time to survey and do. So just make sure that going forward too, we apply these types of practices with everything in all aspects. But again, I don't want to cut an entity or say they're just a loss because I haven't fully had an opportunity to experience them. Only being appointed in 1 year, that was the time that I've had. So maybe continuing the discussion. I know there is other entities and organizations out there. I don't know what our time frame is in trying to make this decision around it. I do know that there may have been some balls dropped, as I call it, between how maybe when we first came in as board members, and maybe OSBA reaching out to us, or our district ensuring we reach out to them, and did we receive things? But I would like to take that as an opportunity to say, okay, we got to do better. So maybe that's something on both sides. We both are taking the responsibility that we didn't ensure as new board members we came in, we got fully informed of what they offer and the information that was shared. I think I shared with Julie some steps, and maybe that's that behind the scenes things with, HR and the onboarding of a board member is ensuring, I call it a checklist. Did you get this information? Did you get awareness? Did you get background information? OSBA, we have reached out and said these are the new board members. This is their district email. There's just some steps that we got to make sure too equally is being done, and that we are being reached out. But I do understand maybe they didn't reach out at the beginning, and that could have kind of made them bad look or bad taste. But I want to ensure we're doing it both ways when we make the decision.
Piggybacking off of Camille and what she's saying, when I first got on this board, OSB never contacted me as far as onboarding and things like that. I don't think they made me feel very welcome. Had conversations with Mark Bobo, and he brought up a good point to me that I would talk to this man quite a bit at conferences and things, and he was just like, Chris, why didn't you ever say anything to me? And he's right. I should have said something to him. About what I was seeing, what I was feeling being involved in OSBA. I didn't feel very welcomed. I've been on this board, it's going on 4 years. I've been to the conferences and stuff and really didn't get much out of them. But Camille makes a good point. She just got here. She hasn't really seen backwards and forwards what you could possibly do. And maybe I didn't delve into it as much as I should as far as taking classes. I know Denise definitely did. Because Kathy McFarland came and gave her an award and things like that. So, I mean, I think we can all open up our perspective, and I think looking now at this, maybe we get back into OSBA, but I think getting involved with other organizations would be another thing too, to have that diversity of opinion from different areas of people out there that could counsel us. So,
I just want to make sure too, with us being such a large school district, we ensure we're not removing ourselves from something and then making a change and we don't have enough support. You know, if that makes sense. Like, you want to ensure too, you're not going with an entity or an organization that might have experience in dealing with smaller district, smaller school population, just different things like that. I know we have to go in executive session, so I won't go too far in depth. But I agree, I'm open to the joining of different things, but making sure we ensure we're a part of something that can support our size, because we are a large school district.
anybody else?
I've done, my homework and research, and again, when I became a school board member, I didn't have any information from OSBA, and the district didn't say you need to get connected with OSBA, and so I was receiving other information from other organizations. So I've done webinars and trainings and those kinds of things with other school board organizations, and so I'm 100% on board with continuing with OSBA as well as joining other organizations. Some of them are free and you just pay for classes or seminars. Others have fees. I think it's important for us to have as many resources as we can at our fingertips so that we are equipped.
I used to, I've known about OSBA for at least 4 years now. I've been following them for a long time, and maybe that's unique, but it's just one of those things where anybody knows me. I like to do research and ask questions and find out what's what. So before I decided to run for school board, of course I reached out to OSBA and did some research on what's what, and made myself aware of their website and all the things they did and everything. And yes, and I did go to quite a bit of events they've had over the last 2 years, not just events they had last year, but even beforehand I would go to some of their things. And it knew about a lot of their, what they were doing, what they were lobbying for, and what they were legislating, what they were hoping to get for at the State House and everything. So, if I go back, the last 5, 6, 7 years, things that OSBA has done and what they've been about, I do think it's good to be a part of everything, and I'm excited to do that. I'm excited to talk about the other organizations for board members and be a part of those as well. I don't know that I could vote to be a part of them, knowing what I do know, knowing that one of their representatives at OSBA was one of the people who helped get parents arrested from school board meetings. He Williams is his last name, was really an advocate for, just like the email we got back in December from President Farland. They're just, for being such a well-established organization for so long, there's a lot of differing opinions for those who elected me in this position. So it's hard for me to do something like that when it's you know, not the reason why I'm here, but, you know, like I mentioned before too, there are really great things OSBA does. Taking all their classes and courses, there's great things I wish our school board did. So if we were to go, and be a part of OSBA, I would really like to really encourage doing some of the things they suggest school boards do with their committees and everything. So, like Ms. Peterson said, with, the conversation, all of it, I think we should have these conversations, on all the realms, and, you know, if you're gonna be involved with something, especially if you're paying for it, to, get all you can out of it, right? Make sure we're fully invested, in all those areas, and I do know other organizations, you know, people are, yeah, they will come and speak to us and help with us, and, have retreat days and whatever they need to do, and, OSBA will as well, so, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, people are always changing, boards are always changing, OSBA is made up of school boards, and those are changing every 2 years, so hopefully the things that did happen over the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, are ever evolving and all working for the same goal, which for me, like I said, is always the students. Everything needs to comes back to the students. How does this benefit a student? And if there are things that we can do through OSBA that can help benefit a student, I'm all for it.
I feel like if I don't
Yeah.
say something,
You don't
gotta say
have to.
something here. I'm all for being a part of all the things. I'm in support of every one of you and able to learn and grow as board members. So whatever the board decides as a whole, I am.
What if we, now this, like, I feel like, okay, now we've been able to have some discussion and hear what needs to be, you know, what everybody's point, view, and things like that is. And if I'm not mistaken, it's not like we can renew it at any time, right?
Yes.
So is this something that we can now say, take 30 days or go next month, and now we get to process? Sometimes I feel like like I've heard you, now if I can process, it's better than making a rush decision. I'm not asking for no vote or nothing tonight. I think a pause to now take everything we all said to process it and come back.
Well, I think that's a good idea. I think if maybe all of us presents other organizations for our next meeting, we could put those organizations up for a vote to join or not to join. And if we have questions until then,
Right.
we're here for each other.
Sounds good.
Sounds good?
Yes.
Publicly.
I'm sorry I almost overstepped you there.
Well, luckily, Banks had the other, and I was like, oh.
All right, sorry about that, everybody.
President Bosso, I
yes.
just have one more thing.
Sure.
I just have a little plug. Grove City High School needs host families for German exchange students. So if you are interested, please contact Brad Reeves at Grove City High School. They are needing families from April 25th through May 10th this year, 2025, so next month. So Brad Reeves at Grove City High School.
Short timeline.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Now we're going to move on to executive session and recommend the Board of Education adjourn to executive session according to policy 0166 to prepare for the conduct or review of negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees and to consider the employment, dismissal, discipline, demotion, or compensation of a public employee. Can I get a motion to move that forward to go to executive session?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Martindale. Second?
Second, Peterson.
Thank you, sorry, Mrs. Peterson. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Ms. Martindale.
Yes.
Ms. Peterson.
Yes.
Ms. D'Angelo Steele.
Yes.
Ms. Liskini.
Yes.
Mr. Bosso.
Yes. Do not expect anything after we come out of the executive sessions. You can sit out here if you want, as long as you want, but we're not gonna do anything but adjourn when we get back. Have a good evening.
Publicly. Also, I couldn't, because I didn't want to push my luck, but I had put it out, so I thought last just wait for it. That was like incorrect from last year. So I'm going to give that to you, because I'm using it now.
How are you? It's been a day. It's been some kind of a day.
I'm sorry. I hear you.
when there's 5 children and 1 of me. Right? There's no way I'm gonna win.